Please be seated, and at this time we would like to invite Michael forward to offer us some words of remembrance.
Good morning. It gives our family such peace knowing how much my mother would have appreciated this beautiful Mass, so I'd like to thank Father Gabriel and Anne and the beautiful playing and singing of Fred and Abby. Thank you very much. On behalf of my siblings Pat, Neva, John, Kate, spouses Susan, Kelly, Claude, and Allie, and Neva's beloved 10 grandchildren, I want to thank you all for taking the time to be here today to support us and honor the life of our beautiful and graceful mom, Neva Marie Baine Murphy. Our family would also like to thank the people of Brooksby Village and Care Dimensions for taking such warm care of our mom. Lastly, I want to thank my two sisters, Neva and Kate. Just like they used to do growing up, when I would show up coming downstairs for school in a particularly awful outfit, they provided great ideas and, more importantly, edits helping me on my drafts this week. They've been looking out for me for 57 years. That being said, when all my siblings decided it would be appropriate for me to deliver this eulogy, I thought at long last they had implicitly acknowledged that I was Mom's favorite as the youngest. It turns out they concluded I was the one that caused Mom the most gray hairs growing up, and therefore most needed this time for atonement. As evidence, they mentioned the time I was 11 years old and accidentally rolled Mom's new station wagon down our driveway into busy Westgate Road with my young Bristol Westgate buddies along for the ride. It turns out the gear shift was, in fact, not locked when we were checking out the features of this new neighborhood car. As we had that unnatural feeling of falling backwards, the driver's side door got mangled as it jammed into our stone wall on the way down the street. When Dad got home later to see the damage I'd caused on a car he bought for her just that day, Mom highlighted to Dad, in her protector role of me in this case, that thankfully no one was hurt. Even if I caused Mom the most worry, her naturally dark, reddy locks never had many gray hairs overall, even in her 90s. The family decided this was about the most eulogy-safe young Mike story I could share at this sacred service. We can laugh about other ones, and much more importantly, share warm and fun memories of Mom at a lunch reception our family invites you to at Weston Golf Club. The reception will start after this Mass and a brief private burial service in Weston. Whatever the reason, it is an honor to represent our family and try to convey the love and grace that our mom brought to everyone that was fortunate to meet her. As a teacher, it's in my DNA to provide you with a mental scaffolding for this bit longer Irish and Scottish story you are about to hear. I will speak of gentle but persistent echoes of life lessons passed on, soul to soul, generation to generation, that sounded into and rang out of Mom's soul. These echoes include grace, humility, empathy, resilience, fun, family, and faith. At the same time, I will share a bit of the arc of history through which Mom lived and at times participated in during her 95 years. When we get to fun, family, and faith, you will know the boat is nearing shore in this celebration of her unique life. In her essence, Mom was the embodiment of a caring and selfless teacher. In a study of leadership at Trinity, I stumbled my way through select readings of Plato. I learned that students and children have such a strong connection with teachers and coaches and other leaders that we like because those teachers showed they cared enough about us to lead us to valuable life lessons we discover with their help. As a teacher and coach now for 13 years, I've experienced the truism that you can't truly teach or coach a teenager until you show them you care deeply about them and their future. When you met our mom, you felt instinctively that she deeply cared about you, and you loved her for it. In an oral history video we did with Mom about 6 years ago, she gave credit to her own Dana Hall School biology teacher senior year for influencing her towards studying biology at Randolph-Macon Women's College. She went on to work as a graduate teaching assistant herself at Harvard for 2 years, teaching biology to master's students. This was a pioneering thing as a woman in the 1950s. When someone questioned why a Harvard professor allowed a young woman to go beyond normal TA support to giving lab lectures to Harvard men, the head of the department stopped by her classroom quietly for 10 minutes before reporting back. Neva knows what she's doing. She went on to be a lab assistant at the Rockefeller Institute in New York City for Dr. Norton Zinder, doing pioneering work in microbiology and genetics that is foundational to work today on things like potential recombinant DNA medicines. Like any good teacher with us, she had a vision or end goal for what she wanted us to learn in life to become responsible and caring adults. Then she created explicit and on-the-fly lessons for us that would help us get there, step by step. The most essential lesson for us was her living example of love and grace and using her many God-given gifts to the fullest in the service of family, friends, and the broader community. While growing up, I satirically thought my mother was in an unspoken competition with her many incredible lifelong friends, such as Barbara Bargo Fargo, Priscilla Bubbles Greif, Marty Whitney Phillips, Ann Auntie Bo Bowman, Dee Dee Sargent, Peggy Wilkinson, Ann Learned, and Connie Eppel, to see who could be the most graceful, fun-loving, and positive person. They were there for each other in the happiest of times, such as a whirlwind European tour, weddings, and babies earlier in life. They were also there for each other in the toughest of times, in sickness later in life. That was her lifelong crew. Of course, it couldn't be a competition, as that wouldn't be nice or humble. These thoughts would hit me most often as a headstrong teenager when I didn't appreciate being reminded of these qualities like being positive at all times. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything at all. Another key lesson for us in Mom's School of Life was humility. I didn't truly know what my mother had worked on at Rockefeller Institute until this week preparing the eulogy. She would only mention it in passing. In my younger days, this lesson didn't always sink in as a scrappy youngest brother trying to work my way into driveway street hockey games with my older brother or in our epic Bristol Westgate neighborhood games. When one of us might have been a bit too pleased with ourselves, she would quietly say, "It's nice to be good, but it's better to be nice." Or, "If you're good at something, people will know." As a wide-eyed little boy, I thought our mom was glamorous and beautiful. In her college days at Randolph-Macon, she ended up being chosen to be the spring formal May Queen by none other than Bob Hope. For the younger crowd here, Bob Hope was a very famous comedian and Hollywood movie star for many decades. Look him up. While it was fun for us as young kids to see Mom get dolled up for a nice formal affair out in Boston with our dad, our mom was understated. You'd never think that she thought she was beautiful. Mom was also a graceful dancer and athlete. Her father, Jack Baine, or Grampy to us, was a three-sport athlete at Hebron Academy in Maine, who went on to play semi-pro baseball in Boston and get his name on a few golf plaques at Weston Golf Club. She was his first child, so naturally he taught her to throw and catch, play tennis and field hockey, and have a rhythmic golf swing, all the while pursuing dance at a high level. She displayed that rhythmic golf swing and her joy in playing golf with us well into her 60s. She also absolutely loved to cheer and support her kids and grandkids at any game or musical in which one of us participated. She loved a good win or song and dance with equal measure. But again, she wanted us to be humble about our individual accomplishments and focus on the team. Being empathetic was another one of her strong qualities and lessons. She learned that from her grandparents, Mom and Pops Reddy, her parents, Neva and Jack, who were young themselves when she was born in 1929, and even her beloved aunt and uncle, Lena and Charlie Hornbossel. She grew up with this extended family in Brookline. In 1944, the extended family moved to a house on Chestnut Street in Weston towards the end of World War II. She inherited an empathetic Southern charm from her grandparents, who were originally from Nashville, Tennessee. Pops moved to Boston in 1909 to begin studying at MIT when he was still dating Mom's future grandmother. He missed her so much, he went back to Nashville and married her that summer. They returned to Boston as a newly married couple, had my grandmother soon after, and our Mimi became the 1913 MIT class baby, not unlike T.K. Murphy in business school. Mom and Pops used to host dinner parties with their single classmates. It was home cooking and good company away from the grind of their studies. Pops later ran the national company in Malden that made leading-edge radio receivers that were important to the Allied war effort in World War II, tracking down German and Japanese subs and ships. From a humility standpoint, I didn't know all the details of this until I was advising very similar companies that work with the U.S. government after 9/11. What Mom focused on about Pops and the national company was his empathetic leadership of his many employees. Mom acknowledged her privileged upbringing as a teenager during these difficult decades of American history. During World War II, she was amazed to be able to sit around the dining room table in Weston with the U.S. generals and admirals invited by Mom and Pops while they were in town to visit his company. She listened to Pops talk about the personal stories of many of his workers and their families that he knew by heart as an empathetic leader in a very important time. Our mom shared these stories of Pop's empathy to underscore to us that there was dignity in every person's story. It was our responsibility to listen, respect, and understand the story of everyone we met, from the person sweeping the floors to someone running a company alike. Importantly, Mom taught us to be fun-loving. Life has its share of challenges, so you need to have fun along the way and bring a sense of joy and humor to others. She wrote fantastic and funny poems for special occasions with her signature doodle of herself with a hat and flowing locks. She wrote one poem about her parents on their 50th anniversary that she recited joyfully at a 1920s-style costume dance party. Separately, while there would often be serious discussion about current events at our weekly Sunday afternoon family dinner, there were also funny stories and cheeky humor from Mom. They say characteristics of a person during their life are magnified in their final days. The day before our mom passed, she was playfully bantering and pointing towards her kids and grandkids in her room, cheeky and fun-loving even in the end. Now, all this seems like a Scotch-Irish yarn from a biased, loving son. Mom was human, after all, so there must be some human context. She shared some of her vulnerability with us as part of her life lessons. A fuller picture came through the inevitable responsibility of adult children to help their parents downsize by going through innumerable boxes of family and friends' photos and letters. They say that a person's eyes are like windows to their soul. After going through these family primary sources, I would alter that phrase to say the letters she valued enough to keep over the years were a window into her soul in a way that I had not fully appreciated for 50 years. These letters often chronicled key sentimental family moments over decades. I found, read, and then passed along to Pat a letter my father wrote to my mother's best friend out of pure exasperation. Pat and I had a bit of an out-of-body experience reading this letter. My father was a bit of a yes sir, no sir man, having been raised on a farm in southern Kansas by two school teachers during the Depression, Dust Bowl, and World War II. However, 29-year-old Tom blathered a bit like a frustrated teenager to Mom's best friend when trying to figure out the then 27-year-old Neva Baine. It would seem that my parents had an on and off courtship from 1953 to 1958. As caring and charming as my father could be when he put his mind to it, he could not close the engagement deal. But as listeners to this love story, don't beat up poor Tom. You see, our father had already proposed to her twice before the time of this letter. An historian would rightly categorize Mom as either uncertain or indecisive. But don't beat up young Neva in this romantic narrative for her uncertainty and doubt. As anyone in this audience who really knew Tom Murphy, she had her reasons to be uncertain. I say that as I'm looking at TK, Aiden, Grace, and Fiona and thinking that they will likely say the same thing about me in describing Allie's decision to marry and stick with me through thick and thin through our wonderful and real life together. Neva eventually said yes, and they were married in Weston with a reception back at the house. Our family is thankful for Mom's decision, as are all the other people my parents touched from New York City, Indiana, Guelph, Ontario, Wyomissing, Pennsylvania, Wellesley, Wilmington, Delaware, Sudbury, Centerville, and then their Brooksby retirement community. As in marriage and life, there were great highs and other very difficult times, with a great deal of just normal life in between. Through it all, our parents taught us the enduring love and devotion between a married couple, and also the resilience needed to get you through the difficult periods. The foundation of this resilience for both of our parents was their faith and family. My mother was a deeply devout Catholic, going to church each week almost her entire life. It kept her humble in bounty and sustained in troubles. Our mom also relied on the strength of her family, bonding in good times and challenges during her life. This included her siblings, Debbie, Jack, and Bill, her in-laws, Ed and Kathleen, and all of her cousins like Patty, Karen, Chris, and Vicky. Mom passed on faith and family to us. While the five of us practice it in different ways, we all share a deep faith and spirituality. When we would fight on occasion, like cats and dogs growing up, our mom would calm things down and say, "Remember, you will need each other one day." She was 100% right and would have loved the dinner we had at Pat's house last week and the dinner we had last night, hosted by our beloved cousins, the Baines and the Keeleys, as we shared funny stories, love, sadness, and overall just an appreciation of Mom. And we are grateful for this lesson too from Mom. Which brings me to her grandchildren. I would like to give you all another insight into my mother by addressing her grandchildren now, as they go through their own grief at the loss of their beloved FIFA. TK, Aiden, Max, Brian, Sophia, Sarah, Grace, Jack, Fiona, and Bowen. Each of you were FIFA's greatest joy and hope for the future. She'd like to repeat a saying, grandchildren are the love affair of old age. In God's gift of getting to know all of you into your adulthood, she was witness to the fact that at a time of her departure, she had fought the good fight, finished the race, and kept the faith. She had fulfilled her unspoken sacred duty and passed along the echoes of love and grace from her parents and grandparents to her children and grandchildren. These included lessons of grace, empathy, humility, fun, faith, family, resilience, and acts of kindness for the benefits of others. You too all have been blessed with many gifts of God that you need to use in your own way to help others in your life and the broader community. She knows that you will embody love, encapsulating all those values, and pass it along to your children in never-ending echoes of what she and our family are about. Either randomly or through God's good grace, Neva's first grandchild ended up being the last family member to talk to her in her earthly life. The hospice caregivers strongly recommended that the family take care of ourselves and get some rest each night. As we were preparing to do that on what ended up being her last night, TK asked to spend some time alone with FIFA. The rest of my siblings headed out. I lingered by the door in the hallway knowing TK would need some support after saying what would be goodbye to his beloved grandmother. I didn't ask nor need to know what he said to our mom in the 3 or 4 minutes he stayed with her alone. About the only thing I could say in the emotion of the moment when he came out was, "You were her first grandchild." We should all be so lucky in the end. We would know that the family echoes of grace and love, passed on soul to soul and generation to generation, will ring on. In closing, it is comforting to know that our mom and dad will be united again forever. Theirs was a true American love story with measures of great joy and at times sadness, deep spiritual faith and periods of doubt, personal strength and flaws, anxious and bountiful times. Most of all, it was full of quiet but real love and joy for life, unflinching support and care, and a lifelong devotion to each other. I imagine them up in heaven, Mom looking glamorous and Dad not so bad himself, as they get ready to go to a fun Broadway musical in New York, and afterwards, blissfully dancing the night away in each other's arms.